Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ryan Ride Mechanic channel. How the heck are you doing today? Today I woke up maximum early to film a video for you guys because the recent rumors have come out that KingDa Ka is leaving us. It won't be around anymore. And a lot of people have asked. They said, hey, what's your thoughts? Can we get your thoughts on this? It's like, oh, yeah, I could do that. So I'm trying to crank this out early. That way it's still somewhat relevant before all the real information comes out. Just try to stay on top of things like that. It's going to be my normal video where I ramble on for a long time about boring stuff. For a lot of you have said, hey, my videos are too long and we can't, we don't have enough time to watch them. Here's your chance right here. Is KingDa Ka leaving? Short answer, yes it is. Bye. Okay, for the rest of you that want to know why it's leaving, let's get into it.
Now get ready. Here we go.
Okay. Are the short film people going? Yeah? Alright. That'll work. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. Alright, for those of you who's your first time here, make sure you like and subscribe and give me an email or comments down there if you want to see more content like this in the future or anything else. I'm always open to ideas. Alright, so the elephant in the room this time. A while back there was a photo that surfaced and it's been going around and it says it was a leaked website photo. So I've seen this picture going around out there that was basically a leaked website and I'm not buying it. Just because the actual picture itself, although it's kind of grainy and blurry and stuff, the letters aren't consistently blurred and they're not like even. They're kind of wavy and all over the place. It looks like something that a low granular picture AI would have developed or something along those lines. I've also seen like on this one particular picture, I've also read people's comments and stuff down there, and someone said, oh yeah, this popped back up in 2006 or something like that. But let's talk about KingDa Ka and what its fate is in the future. So currently it's working. Have they had a lot of downtime on it recently? Yes they have. This is kind of normal for rides though. I mean, rides break stuff and sometimes they have parts that are on the shelf and they get replaced really quick and sometimes they don't. Intamin accelerators they don't all the time because they are very high powered, extremely custom made machines. They don't just stock a lot of parts for those things. A lot of stuff is custom made each time. So if the park hasn't spent the extra millions of dollars in inventory that I'm sure Intamin requested them to have, then the park, and when something goes down, they might be down for months and months and months at a time until Intamin's able to get a hold of, fabricate, or possibly even redesign the part that was broken. So let's look at the pros and cons here. What would be a reason they would get rid of KingDa Ka? Well, I could see the rides getting older. We've just seen Top Thrill Dragster undergo an extensive, not even a refurbishment, that would be a retrofit to go to a LSM style launch. Now, one of the things is that the launches on these rides are extremely powerful. They're incredibly intense maintenance-wise. So I could see parks wanting to get away from that. Okay, this has always been one of the reasons why when I talked about Top Thrill 2, I said a lot's at stake with these rides because if they can successfully convert the ride with just saying, boom, here's a set of trains and here's a drive system, then Zamperla can sell that to a lot of people and a lot of parks will probably buy that sort of stuff. But if they can't, and in fact the track has to be modified, which we don't know if that's really going to happen, but if they can't do that and stuff and they say, well, we can't really one-off retrofit them, you have to rebuild 7/8 of the ride, then parks won't want to do that. They will stick with what they have and continue to maintain it. Now, that Cedar Fair and Six Flags have joined with each other. Now they've suddenly combined their inventory of rides, which is great. But when you look in the system, they not only have one hydraulic launch rides, they actually have two, actually have three. And then they're like, okay, well, we got three of these things in there. So it kind of makes more sense to maintain them at that point, because you're not going to shell out three rides all of a sudden. You're gonna want to maintain those and keep them running. KingDa Ka is up around the 20. Is it around the 20? Yeah, it's around the 20-year mark, I believe, for its ride life. I wouldn't say it's at the end of its life, but it's close to it, especially with the nature of the ride. I mean, rides that are extreme, they last less time than rides that are very tame and easy to maintain. The other problem with KingDa Ka in particular is that it's got a whole nother ride mounted to it. So you can't just say, well, we're going to take down the ride, because you also lose the other ride. You lose a drop ride at the other end. So you would actually be destroying two rides at the same time. Parks typically don't like doing that stuff. I know they will if they have to, but there would have to be something big and massive going in to replace it. Something jaw-dropping that would do that. Let's look at some of the reasons why they would want to keep the ride. Well, they want to keep the ride because, well, right now it is the tallest ride in the world. Granted, it's going to get knocked off the throne here when Falcon's Flight comes online, but we don't know when that's going to happen. It will eventually happen, so it won't be the tallest anymore, and we already know there's rides that are faster than that. But it is still one of those things, if you're here in the U.S. especially, it is the tallest and fastest here in the U.S., so that's still a record holder in the U.S. You can just caveat at that point. Not so much the world, but in the U.S., which is still fine. I believe you still draw a pretty good crowd and attract people with that sort of information. It's not incredibly complex in the park. I mean, it takes up a small footprint of space. It's quite long, but if you think about the actual track layout and stuff, it doesn't take up much space at all. You have two, basically the launch and return sections that just take up very thin, narrow spaces, which you could do stuff in and out of and weave around. If you wanted to, let's say, put another ride in its place, you could do that. And if the tracks crossed each other, you could guard across the top. So, you even you could put a tunnel over another ride or go underneath that ride. Protect the riders that way, because you wouldn't want to have things drop off from one to the other at the speeds that KingDa Ka runs. So the original thought was like, okay, is KingDa Ka going somewhere? So my first answer is yes. Yes, it is. Like, what are you basing that off of? Well, eventually every ride gets old, and eventually every ride dies, no matter what. Like, every ride will die eventually. So, yeah, it will go somewhere. It is going away. Is it going away at the end of next year? Well, we don't know that. No one here knows that. That's why this is all speculation, right? We don't know what's going on with that. My thought is no. My thought is this is all based off of a fictitious rumor that's going around. Why would people do that? Because people like to do that. People like to start stuff and see what happens. That's just the nature of some people, is just to push a button and see how far they can get it to go. I think the rumor's completely bunk. It's not going anywhere. I don't think that ride is getting torn down at the end of the 2025 season. I don't think Six Flags is going to get rid of that ride. But at the same time, who knows? Who knows what the future holds? But they would have to have something. They would have to have a really good reason to knock that ride down, and it's probably a better reason than just like parts are hard to get a hold of. I mean, if Six Flags Magic Mountain has kept X2 running this long, they can do parts. That's not a problem. They can do parts. They can get stuff, and they can keep it running. The thing that I hear from other parks when they say, like, oh, we couldn't get parts for that, so we stopped using it, or we shut it down because we couldn't get parts and it was hard to work on. It's like, that was a want. That wasn't a can't. That was a want. One of the rides that always pops up like this is Indiana Jones over at Disneyland. The effect when you start the ride and it's got the 3 doors in the hallway and the whole hallway shifts left to right. And then I've heard plenty of people say, oh, the whole thing used to work off of a set of cables, and the cable broke, and they can't get that cable anymore, so they stopped using that part of the ride. It's like, no, they didn't. They stopped using that part because it was maintenance intensive, and they didn't want to repair that part of the ride. Because look at all the stuff Disney's done. If they wanted to do something, they are going to do it. Cables are like a dime a dozen. You can get them from anywhere, from any manufacturer. Not that big of a deal. If the cable snapped and it was a big deal, then you get the engineers to go back to it and say, well, we're going to put 2 cables in its place. We're going to put 3 cables. Look at that. We'll do this. We'll put 4 in there. We'll redo the drive system. The chain technology has changed. We'll use chains. Like, so many things to do. So when you hear parks say like, oh, we couldn't get parts for it, that just means they didn't want to fix it anymore. We don't want to. We're done with it. We're tired of it. We're just going to throw it away. I don't think KingDa Ka is going anywhere. I really don't. I think this is just a rumor that flares up from time to time, just like any ride anywhere. The difference is that this has gained a lot of traction because we've already messed with Top Thrill. Top Thrill had a completely different set of circumstances because it was involved in a major lawsuit, and that lawsuit was probably the fuel it needed to execute a project. They probably had that project sitting around saying, oh, you know, we could always redo the launch system on Top Thrill and probably save a lot of money. Yeah, but we need some catalyst to do that. And then they had that lawsuit, and then it's like that accident. And then it's like, oh, this would be it, because we could say that that is the jump-off point to basically repair the ride to a completely different ride now and get rid of that accident floating around out there that I'm sure they don't like. So I think that's going to be it for this video. Really short, I know. But yeah, I don't think KingDa Ka is going to go anywhere. Not anytime soon anyway. But yes, the coaster will eventually leave because its lifespan. But it's not really going to go anywhere soon, I don't think. But you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. Oh well. I'm Ryan the Ride Mechanic. Like and subscribe, do all that stuff downstairs. It does help me out. And as always, stay off the air gates. Bye.